topic, which is, what has happened. And also, when we look at, what is to happen this week with some major fundamental news, which is the FOMC, also known as the Fed minutes. And what is it that Jerome Powell could possibly say on Wednesday to give us the volatility that we're expecting out of the market? And even more importantly, on Friday, our NFP, our non-farming payroll reports, also known as the jobs report. What is it that we can expect from the volatility that's going to be at play here for the remainder of the week? How it can give us an outlook for what to expect for the month of November. So guys, you know how we begin every session is we look at Bitcoin dominance. Why is that? Because we want to have a key in look and outward look for how is Bitcoin itself having a stronghold on the market direction as well as biases. So much of like what we've discussed in previous weeks is we've been in a downtrend with Bitcoin dominance itself. And we had retested, this area of support before, and we immediately reversed with a bullish engulfing candle. And we came back up almost in the attempt to get to this major area of resistance, but we hit this level of resistance here to the left. And since then, we've been kind of drifting lower. And this has been, this has also played out very well when we look at the performance, for example, of altcoins last week. We saw altcoins, pretty much kind of outperform Bitcoin. And we'll look at that as confirmation when we jump over to the altcoin index chart. But what has happened here is essentially, we made a play pretty much like what we did here in the past, which is we hit support and we reversed. But given that we're in a downtrend with Bitcoin dominance, that we were only expecting a relief rally, which is essentially what we have. And now we are back in this zone, this major area of support. And we want to see if we are even going to come further back down this way. Only time will really tell. But if we were to look, so example, we have this arrow right here that we had painted out here in previous weeks, which were we expecting price to get up to that area, and which it did. And now, given what's going on with the news, we want to see, if Bitcoin dominance is going to continue to make another leg lower. So when we pull out our fib tool here and see what has really just transpired with, okay, that's in the way. What has transpired with price action here now, we are coming close to this 40% area. What does that translate to? You guys might be wondering. It means that essentially Bitcoin has a 40% stronghold on the market, meaning that Bitcoin's influence on the market holds at about a 40% price action, meaning that noticing is more importantly to think of here, is noticing that the Bitcoin dominance has essentially been in a downtrend for year over year, and that's because of the altcoin space increasing in such a large and fast pace that Bitcoin loses market share to the altcoins because most of them serve as some form of utility, whereas Bitcoin is more of a safe haven reserve. That's also debatable and what some people might say, but you make that decision for yourself as an investor. But essentially, guys, we're waiting for this level to be hit to see if we're going to get, some sideways consolidation, or are we going to continue to dip lower and make new lows where we can see Bitcoin dominance market share continue to drop off? But essentially, this is what's been going on here now. And get this one out of the way so I can make this a little bit more clear for you guys. All right. Let's see here. Okay. And that's pretty much it, guys. We've been doing this now for year over year, which is we've been in this range, Bitcoin dominance, really since, give or take, May of 2021, where we've attempted to break above the 48% level and we failed to do so on multiple times. And now, we've respected this level of support, at around the 39% level. However, if we are, failing to make new highs, then we only expect prices to go lower. And if we're going lower, somewhere in the future, that could possibly be it. It's not to say that the whole crypto market will drag with it, but Bitcoin's dominance over the market is going to continue to lose market share. So just kind of keep that in mind, guys. I'm expecting really the market to kind of be in a range until this news comes out, and then we'll get a preferential bias for direction, what we are expecting, at least in the short to midterm. Okay, guys, so that is Bitcoin dominance. Next up is our altcoin index. And you guys notice something very interesting here, right? So we have this arrow right here, which we drew. We were waiting for price to retest this level of support, and it did. And from there, we got a breakout. And we currently broke out, failed to close above, retested this area of support, area of resistance that we had, and we're attempting to make another push at it. So what does this translate to? So much like what we saw with the Bitcoin dominance chart, Bitcoin dominance was falling. And usually what happens is when Bitcoin dominance is falling, then you tend to see market share uptick in alts. So we had Dogecoin run massively this past week. And stay tuned, guys, for next week, because we'll actually go over that to see if we're going to get some follow through price action. But essentially, this rally right here we got was substantial in the fact that we saw it be replicated in the altcoin market. So we saw quite a bit of altcoins rally in this past week. And what that did tell us was, at least for now, that is a strong level of support. This area which we drew here, we painted when we had the massive rally with alts for the Ethereum merge held. And when we back tested these areas of support, we made a higher low, which is why we made this run up here with the volatility and expectance. And as you see here, guys, this area of resistance that we painted months ago, that it's being retested again. So what is that to say? And, we always do our if then scenario, which is if we decide to hold this, then we could make a push here. And what could that look like? Well, there's a retest of this area of resistance that was previous support. And since we had this breakdown, this now serves as resistance. And so this only happens if this holds. If this does not hold, then we're turning back down. That's pretty much how market structure works. Is you always want to play on the reaction. You can have analysis that's going to tell you, probable scenarios, outcomes, but you want to always make sure that you have a bias for what could possibly happen if price goes higher or if price goes lower. And so for the altcoin index, given that this was a bullish move here to make this leg run up, and we're testing this area of resistance currently right now, we want to see if we're going to hold. And if we're going to hold, are we going to try to make a rally up to this previous area of broken support, now resistance? And or are we going to do something like this first and then push higher? And once again, if this fails, then we're going lower. And like I said, the way for that to happen is if we get very bad data. For example, the news that's coming this week and or the news that's coming on Friday. So just wait it out. See how price holds at this resistance level. And if so, let's see what kind of upside moves we get. And one thing to keep in mind, which is something that we talk about and we have talked about here for the last few weeks, which is if the dollar, and we'll go over that here in a few minutes, if the dollar is battling resistance and is unable to regain ground and continues to slide like it has been now for the past week or so, then we will get these bumps and runs, relief rallies with crypto. So keep that in mind as we pay attention to what news comes out this week. Okay, so now, guys, we're going to jump over directly to the Bitcoin chart. So now, what's been going on here? We have been in this range. So we had this ascending wedge pattern that broke down, but failed to break below this major level support at 18K. And instead, we've made this rounded bottom here, and we're currently back testing an area of support that we broke above. So this was essentially resistance, and we broke above there, and we're currently back testing. So much like what we just saw with altcoin index, we could, kind of hang around here for a minute and or even dip just a little bit before we make one more run. And like I said, once again, this is all indicative to what happens with the news, how the dollar responds is going to be a direct correlation to how Bitcoin will respond. So we finally got a breakout, but as of right now, this is a temporary bottom. So I would say just hold, wait for this play to happen. Once this play happens, then you'll be in a position to make a decision for what you want to do, as well as given into consideration that we know that the altcoin index has ran up and Bitcoin dominance has gone down. So that's something to also keep in mind, because if we do rally, we may not get the pop as far as price with Bitcoin like we've seen with the alts. So guys, that is Bitcoin. Like I said, I want to continue to allow this to play out to see if we're going to get a back test for areas of support before we make another push higher, or this is it and we might finally break 18K. Like I said, this is indicative to what the dollar decides to do. So just hold, allow price action to play itself out. So now we're jumping over to Ethereum. And are we surprised about what happened with Ethereum? Not really, because it looks just like the altcoin index chart that we were just watching, which is, we saw this area, the Ethereum merge happen. We retested areas of resistance, failed, made a nice head and shoulders pattern. However, we failed to break the neckline on multiple occasions. And so what happens when you get this very tight area of consolidation? You get a pop in price. And that's essentially what we did. So we saw Ethereum get as high as 1652, which is basically a big retest to this area here. And if we were to, zoom out and look at what's really going on here. Now, once again, this is also indicative to how the dollar responds. How does Bitcoin respond? Which is, are we going to just kind of consolidate here while we wait for the news? Are we going to get a bit of a breakdown? And or if either of the two happen and we rally, is it possible? Yes. Is also this possible? Absolutely. Like I said, once again, how the dollar responds to the news, how the market responds to the news, how Bitcoin responds to the news is going to give us our deciding factors. You know, most of us, we are expecting lower prices for crypto. However, the dollar has made, some interesting moves here in the last couple of weeks, and we're going to go over that here once again in a few seconds. And, are we going to get some relief before that happens? Very possible. So that is Ethereum. They said we made a nice rally, also indicative to the alts that made really good rallies here in the last week. We are currently just, consolidating at these levels here of support that was previous resistance. And we want to see if we're going to get followed through price action, which is either to the downside, to retest areas of support and make a rally, and or if we consolidate long enough, don't get any type of bullish price action and we fall lower. So our if then or if or scenario plays out. And so now that is Ethereum, guys. And most importantly, now we want to take a look at the dollar. It has been a bit interesting here in the last couple of weeks. So if you notice here, we had failed attempts to push higher, especially the 114 level. We've had multiple attempts to do so, and we've rejected every time. And what essentially happened when we saw that, we saw the S&P 500 and the stock market indexes rally hard, as well as we saw crypto rally hard. And so now we're currently under these areas and currently attempting to retest previous resistance, which currently right now it was at 111 284. We're currently trading above that. What's next above that is our resistance area at about 112. We want to see if we get something, to happen like we bump, run, as possibly some sideways consolidation. And I would only see this happen if we get numbers that are not favorable for risk on assets. However, with this particular move, the multiple rejections that we got at 114 is what allowed us to experience some rallies. And what it becomes very interesting right now is these 3 daily candles that we've had on the dollar. Although we've had this relief rally, quote unquote, we've bounced from support and rallied. We have not seen major price breakdown in the stock market as well as crypto. We've only seen slight price pullback. The only thing that's really been affected by the dollar going higher is precious metals. So that is something to really keep in mind, given that we know that certain asset classes correlate with one another, given that the stock market has rallied, even though the major stock market indexes have gone higher. Has a lot to say, as well as when the dollar has gone up, Bitcoin and crypto hasn't really gone down a lot. So we keep those things in mind because that usually tells us about investor sentiment, how they're perceiving specific risk on assets, and how they're maybe increasing their holdings at these levels, and or if they're trading. What is it that they see as favorable for their particular position? So guys, this is the dollar. They said we made a lower low, but we automatically reversed and currently coming back to retest this area of resistance. Now, I am not expecting this to break immediately. However, we could pull back and consolidate at these levels. And like I said, the only way I see this popping higher is if we get favorable numbers, or sorry, non-favorable numbers here this week, and or the tone that we're going to get from Jerome Powell on Wednesday. So other than that, we have to just kind of keep in mind that there's some other outlying factors that are happening right now, which is we have the elections coming up. We can expect a very volatile market this month. We also have, like I said, the FOMC meetings. We have possible rate hikes. And for many analysts, they say that the price of the rate hikes are priced in to the market, meaning that investors are already expecting another rate hike. So they've already started to come back into the market, and we see that, for example, in the stock market with the S&P, we see that with some of the major altcoins, that investors are already kind of in the know of, okay, this is what's happening because this is what has happened. And so while we're already on a major sale, we're already in a major sale, major discount on prices that we've experienced since last year, then why don't we go ahead and start to get back into the market? And once we've done that, like I said, this is the response that we got from the dollar, which was not being able to go above 114. So guys, that is it for now. I would wait to see what happens with the news this week, and I apologize for any dogs that are barking in the background. Other than that, guys, have a great Halloween. Let's allow the market to come to us and see what kind of juicy volatility that we're going to get this month. All right, guys, have a great day.